Well, you hate talking about stuff like this or reporting on stories like this, but it is news, and we cannot just ignore it like it's not happening right now. If you're a basketball fan like me, I'm sure, over the last couple of weeks, you've seen the impact that COVID-19 has had on the league. I'm sure you've turned on a game and been like, yo, he's not playing. He's not playing. Wait, even he's not playing? COVID is making its way through the NBA. What I've noticed is a lot of the West Coast teams are pretty much fine for the most part. But, I mean, it is having its way with a couple of East Coast teams. A couple of down south teams are feeling the impacts of COVID as well. I mean, from Miami to Philly to Boston, they've all had major outbreaks in which we're talking 7, 8 guys have been unavailable to play basketball. The Wizards are in the midst of a big COVID outbreak. Now the Minnesota Timberwolves are in the midst of a big outbreak. That's seen cancellations to some of their games. Their star, Karl Towns, was one of the latest guys to announce that he's got COVID-19. He said, prior to tonight's game, I received yet another awful call that I tested positive for COVID. I will immediately isolate and follow every protocol. I pray every day that this nightmare of a virus will subside, and I beg everyone to continue to take it seriously by taking all of the necessary precautions. We cannot stop the spread of the virus alone. It must be a group effort by all of us. It breaks my heart that my family, and particularly my father and sister, continue to suffer from the anxiety that comes along with the diagnosis, as we know all too well what the end result could be. To my niece and nephew, Jelani and Max, I promise you I will not end up in a box next to grandma. I will beat this. And the reason why I thought it was important to emphasize Karl Towns' COVID diagnosis is because, Karl Towns lost his mother to COVID last year. And not only did he lose his mother, according to Kat, he's lost 6 other family members to the coronavirus in a year's time frame. So obviously, even though Karl Towns is a multi-million-dollar basketball player, he could put as much money as he wants into his body. He's, I'm sure, in incredible shape, even though he's a 6'11", 7-foot guy. At the end of the day, it looks like it could be some genetic impacts with Karl Towns' family. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But we don't want to take this thing lightly with Kat. I'm wishing you, my brother, nothing but the best with your battle with COVID. And, prayers to that man and his family, man. That is unfortunate. I hate that one. But, again, you see how deadly this virus can be. You see Kat say, take it serious, take it serious. A lot of people are criticizing the NBA for just kind of plowing through. That seems to be Adam Silver's plan. If you've been following him from the beginning, he said he knew the NBA would have outbreaks. He knew that there would be games canceled. That's why the NBA has only announced a third, close to half of their season, because they know they're going to have to go back in and make up a lot of these missed dates on the second half of the season, because we're in the winter. And obviously the numbers of COVID throughout our country, throughout our world are awful right now. The NBA is not immune to that. So one thing that Adam Silver and the league they're doing right now is they're cracking down on guests that NBA players can have on the road. That was one big thing that multiple GMs in the NBA believe are impacting the COVID numbers. Road guests. I think you can have like 2 or 3 guests on the road up until a couple days ago, but the NBA has put out some new guidelines in which you cannot have any guests on the road if you're an NBA player. Or in a part of a staff, obviously, as well. No guest on the road. And again, they believe that will help calm down this outbreak, because a lot of games are being canceled right now. I mean, and another scary thing that I've seen over the last couple of days is some guys that tested positive for COVID right before the bubble are now testing positive again. And that's scary, right? Because, NBA athletes are obviously around a decent amount of people night to night, or with the staffs and playing against other guys on the court in intimate settings. So if we're seeing guys like that in the best of shape get this virus a second time or test positive a second time, what is that going to say about you or I, right? So that one, very alarming and very scary to hear second positive test from some of these phenomenal in-shape athletes. But I mean, again, this virus it's impacting every family, and it's unfortunate that it's impacting our league in such a way. You never know who's playing, who's not playing. A couple of things that stood out to me, though, was some messages from some of the players, including George Hill. So George Hill, who plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder, he was traded last offseason. He said, I'm a grown man, so I'm going to do what I want to do. If I want to go see my family, I'm going to go see my family. They can't tell me I have to stay in a room 24/7. That was George Hill's response to the new measures taken by the league to try to prevent the spread of the virus. George Hill was the guy who told his Milwaukee Bucks teammates to stay in the locker room after the Wisconsin shooting of an unarmed black man while the players were in the bubble. And now he's saying, they can't tell me what I can and can't do. And I understand George Hill's frustration. I think that is asking a lot of the players, right? Like, I trust and believe I'm the guy who's like, y'all get paid a lot of money, all right? More than obviously most people in this country do. Suck it up and deal with it. That's usually my take on this. But for this one, I'm going to push back a little bit, and I'm going to tell George Hill this. Like, George, you seem to be very unhappy with your life as a professional basketball player and your privilege as a professional basketball player. I'm not going to tell this grown man to just shut up and dribble. But I will tell him this. Yo, George, if you're that unhappy, you've made a decent amount of money, generational wealth in your lifetime as an NBA player. Yo, my brother, maybe you should do something else. Maybe you should do something that's less taxing on your body. Maybe you are not mentally, emotionally strong enough to deal with where the NBA is at right now. You didn't really love the bubble. You didn't want to go. You go, and then you convince your teammates to miss a game. And by the way, that Milwaukee Bucks team, to me, in my opinion, never recovered after that. I know they went on to win the series against the Orlando Magic, but they were awful in that next round against the Miami Heat, and they lost in 5 games. Obviously, I can't correlate the two, but I have to believe that could have hurt that chemistry in that locker room. George, maybe you should do something else, my brother. Maybe this isn't for you. This is for players who understand their position. Look, guys give it their all for a chance to make money in this profession and a chance to do what they love to do. And if those things don't correlate with where you're at with it in life right now, maybe you don't need to be around, because what you're saying is very scary. You're flat-foot saying you're not going to abide by the protocols. And obviously, if there are multiple guys with that thought process as George Hill, and maybe just not as vocal enough as to say it like he did, that's problematic. Because I'm telling you now, I'm going to be pissed one day when I see my news ticker say LeBron James and Anthony Davis got COVID. The Lakers games are canceled. I'm serious, man. I'm a damn Laker diehard. I'm going to be pissed when I see that. And I know the league's going to be pissed when they see that, especially if it comes down to a role player at best. A guy that, he ain't one of the top 100 players right now, and George Hill, all due respect to him, nobody's going to see George Hill and the Oklahoma City Thunder play basketball. That's not why they're going to games. They're not. George Hill isn't literally, he's not making any fan go to a game, any fan watch a game. And I don't like him being the spokesman of this league. He's been that, multiple times over the last few months. If LeBron's got issues, we all got issues. If Kevin Durant's got issues, we all got issues. Those gentlemen have not complained. I don't want a guy who's the 8th guy off the bench to tell me what he's complaining about. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this COVID-19 outbreak throughout the NBA, how it's impacting your teams. You know what's so funny? Or it's actually not funny, it's serious. I'm looking at some of the standings out east, especially out east. A lot of the team standings are literally just going to be because of who was healthy at what point in time. Like, there are going to be some seeding out east that might not be indicative of who's the better team. If Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown miss 4 games and the Celtics go 1-3, and down the stretch we see a team like the Indiana Pacers have a better record than the Boston Celtics come playoff time, does that mean Indiana's a better team than the Celtics? Probably not. They probably just had health on their side, or they didn't have a big outbreak at a certain time when they had games against maybe some of the bottom feeders out east, right? So that's going to be an interesting development. Maybe the seeding doesn't come down to who was the better team throughout the regular season this year. Maybe it does come down to who was able to avoid a COVID outbreak when they're playing some of the bad teams out east, out west, some of the good teams out east, out west. It might come down to things like that. And obviously we know how important seeding is. The Clippers got a bad matchup with the Nuggets last year, and they lost. And I do believe that the Clippers would have beaten the Lakers, my Lakers, in the conference finals or whenever they played them if they got into the Lakers before they saw the Nuggets. I do believe that, by the way. So, seeding matters. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this in the comment box below. Thank y'all so much for the time, love, and support. I don't take it for granted. Please be safe out there. Protect yourself. Protect your family, man. Seriously, if you out here moving around, I get it. People make decisions. We all make selfish decisions at times. I'm not going to judge you for that. But I will say this, man. If you can, man, protect your mama. Protect your dad. Like, stay away from your elder statesmen and your family if you can. I'm out.